about a captive group of students. Okay, first he said that they implied that he wants his students to regurgitate. Now he's holding them captive, which goes hand in hand with what? Terrorism, hostages. He's subconsciously painting this professor to be what? A terrorist. So not only have they discredited him, but people are already getting in their minds that with this neuro-linguistic programming, now you understand what neuro-linguistic programming is. Neural, brain, linguistic, speech, programming the brain with speech via the subconscious. Dual meaning.
I don't really care what you believe, but if we're talking about a captive group of students in a classroom, the question we've got to ask, hang on a second. Well, they're sitting in your classroom, and you have a position of authority. I'm wondering, the question is whether or not you're the most competent to teach them. And most people think you're a nut.
Now, this one should be obvious. Isn't he a person that's in a position of authority? And isn't he about as incompetent as you can get as far as love and honesty and caring about other life forms? Yet he turns it around because people believe what they hear and what they read. So if he says it first, and that's a big part of this, is trying to say things first before somebody else can say something, then it seems like they will always be on the defensive. And that's the whole point, is to keep the professor on the defensive. All right? And saying that he is detrimental to his students, when the truth is Fox News is incredibly detrimental to you, just in this short clip I'm showing you here, and people are watching this all day long.
And most people think you're a nut. Most people think your views are not even worth listening to.
We just had a poll here in Madison, and we found that 90% of the respondents at Channel 3000 poll said that I should be allowed to teach. Only 10% said I shouldn't.
That's the question.
And 60%,
I don't think what your views are.
60% agreed with me about the questions I'm raising about 9/11. 60% of the respondents.
I think
you're in the minority.
Right to speak. I don't think this is the proper forum, though, for people that hold extremist views like yourself.
Okay, first of all, when he says no, like that, what he's doing is he's programming the television viewers' collective consciousness to disregard the results of that poll. He says no, and then your mind says no to the information he just gave. These are just little tricks he slips in there. And most people think he's a nut? What? But see, people watch that, of course, and they store that in their mind as fact. Of course, most people do not think he is a nut. But if he says that, he programs anybody watching this television program, hint, hint, that everybody thinks he's a nut. So I will too, to fit in. Where did he get that number? How does he know most people think that he's a nut? Think about it. They don't. He just says it. And then the professor has to respond to that. He's totally disrupting the whole interview. So it appears to people, because time is moving by, that there's actually an interview going on here. But it's not. It's only about disrupting and discrediting and programming your opinion. Okay, first of all, I used to live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I can tell you that people did not think that he was crazy. It was the television that began to program people to think that he was crazy. Again, now, extremist views like yourself. Now, they already set the stage in your mind, or the viewer's mind, before he brought that up in the beginning, when that first reporter took his hands and whipped him over to the left side of his shoulder to subconsciously say that he's an extreme leftist. He's on the extreme left. So now they're reinforcing that, telling you to believe that he is extremist, that these are extreme things. Once you start to understand the dual meaning of neuro-linguistic programming, things become crystal clear to you.
About the questions I'm raising about 9/11, 60% of the respondents.
I think
you're in the minority.
Right to speak. I don't think this is the proper forum, though, for people that hold extremist views like yourself. Reasonable
you guys are extremists.
Reasonable people. Now notice what he did there. He took his hands and he gestured them towards himself and said reasonable people, while pointing to himself. Therefore, your subconscious and your conscious mind is shaped to see Sean Hannity as the reasonable person. They're always using gestures against you in coordination with dual meaning in things they say and direct meaning. So again, reasonable people, all he has to do is point to himself, and that's a subtle, nonverbal gesture to make you associate being reasonable with Sean Hannity's point of view. He's programming your mind. So now after you have associated being reasonable with Sean Hannity, and when he says people think, he points out or opens his hand, so you are to think. See, reasonable people, he points to himself and then opens it up to you, think. You shouldn't be allowed to teach this class. We can do a better job. People will be programmed by that.
Reasonable
no, you guys
people
are extremists. Fox News is the biggest bunch of extremists on the planet.
But reasonable people see you as an extremist, and I don't think you're the most appropriate guy to teach that class. My guess
I don't think you're the most appropriate guy to be on the airwaves spewing your venom.
And the professor got it right. You can see the look on his face. He says, spewing your venom. That's exactly what he's doing. The problem is that you can't get all of this out in an interview. For example, say I was on an interview like this. They would be doing all the same things to me. All I would be doing is calling attention to everything he's doing, and then he would sit there and argue with me. Nothing would ever get discussed. This is how they take advantage of people. Look how long it's taken me. Do you know this clip is only like 2 minutes long, normally? But just to describe 2 very short minutes of media to you, look how long this is taking. That's the problem. That's why I haven't done it before, because I can sit here and explain it to you, but you need to open up your eyes so you can see it for yourself, because it all happens way too quickly. If you try to explain something that happens in a 3-second period, if you're not educated on that, if you're not aware of it, it will go by way too fast before you can bring somebody up to speed to understand what's going on. This is why I had to break it down for you, but I still can't do this with everything I see, because this is everywhere. This is common. This is always going on. And it just, you need to educate yourself, but you need to become aware. Again, dual meaning, neuro-linguistic programming, gesturing, association of concepts and beliefs to link them, anchor them in your mind, to misdirect your perception, your beliefs, and your ability to perceive reality in general.
Class, my guess
I don't think you're the most appropriate guy to be on the airwaves spewing your venom throughout this country. I think you guys should be taken off the airwaves because you are the guys who are...
We don't want to silence anybody. You teach and we'll do Hannity and Combs. Thank you, Professor. Coming up, we'll have a...
We don't want to silence anybody. That's exactly what they have just done. Though you heard a lot of speaking going on, nothing was able to get out into the open. They completely took control of this poor man. And he's brave, okay, to get out there, lose his job, and to speak the truth. And they hound him like bees. They're using techniques that are hidden, that are sorcery. They're of sorcery in their nature. They're hypnotic. They're using negative energy, manipulative techniques, childish argument techniques. And so you've seen a lot of talking, but nothing got out into the open. And you see how nervous they made him. Why? Because he had to keep dealing with their techniques, and he couldn't express the truth. And this is how anybody who tries to get on the media to speak the truth is manipulated, and that's why most don't even bother. They don't bother because they would just get into an argument. I mean, what's the point? So this is why you don't get the truth in the media. Even if people do get a chance at airtime, they will be interrupted, misdirected, hypnotic suggestions to the audience that are watching it. You just can't. People that know the truth won't even try. They won't even try to go on the mainstream media, and people that do, it ends up like this. So until that is addressed, then nothing will ever be told on mainstream media. But what you can learn from this, don't watch TV. Okay? I hope this helps.